with you. I could see Delhi getting into that starting rotation here and playing. If Kyrie's not. If he's not running the ball and LeBron's going to be doing that, I mean, obviously now you got to get LeBron back. I mean, little tweaks and injuries are going to have to put this rotation back together. But, man, Delhi makes an argument to me. As much as I like him coming off the bench, him and Dion being that two-man game at the guards. But at the same time, I can make some arguments for Delhi being in that starting lineup and then playing the point there. And then you've got Kyrie basically running the two guard, and LeBron's really still playing the point. I mean, at least now, short term, until you bridge the gap and get your rotation here figured out. But yeah, man, Delhi, a couple of games back, he continues to show why he's going to be one of those X factors. Kevin Love had a good night last night, 18 and 16. Tristan, 14 and 13. Couple of double-doubles as those guys were pounding the boards. Tristan in the second half was really getting after the boards. But Westbrook, he had a great game. Kyrie just defensively was not having a good game yesterday. Not that Westbrook is some easy person to contend against there, but Russell Westbrook had 26, 8 assists, 7 boards. Durant had 19. Kyrie had 20, but his shooting percentage was off. I mean, really, he was having trouble. Westbrook was defending him on that end of the ball very well, absolutely. And then the injury in the second half, we talked about the tail of the tape as far as the game goes, but those are some of the bigger factors there. And we'll see what happens tonight as the Cavs on the road still before they come home for final road game here. They basically played five of the last 6 on the road. Then they've got 5 in a row coming up at home. After this one here, they'll get the weekend off. They take on New Orleans tonight. Then you come home Monday, you've got Charlotte, Atlanta, Brooklyn, Memphis, Minnesota every other day for the next week and a half here coming up at home. And you've got some good tests there as well. Some very different, varying teams. Charlotte, Atlanta, and we know what happened last time Atlanta played the Cavaliers. You've got Brooklyn, Memphis, Minnesota, some good ones in that stretch as well. But they got to get through New Orleans. New Orleans playing 500 ball basically at this point in the season. 10 and 11 early on, but they're 6 and 2 at home. Their struggles on the road. Cavaliers 6 and 4 away from home. So. Should be a good matchup here tonight. I'm pretty sure LeBron will sit out tonight. Nobody's told me this for sure, but I would sit him if I was the Cavs, to be totally honest with you. But I don't know for sure what the Cavs are going to do. I would expect LeBron to sit. Kyrie, I don't know. I would assume he's going to play unless his knee just completely swells up and gives him all sorts of trouble as he tries to get out and work it out in the shoot-around here this afternoon. I would expect. I mean, plus, like we talked about, maybe one of the motivations for him to get back in the game was, hey, look, man, that's what you do when you're one of the big dogs. And I'm just saying, theoretically, when you're up there in that grouping and one of your guys is down, and you step up, and that's what you do, and you suck through it. And I maybe that's a bit of a different, where normally the Cavs would pat Kyrie on the head and say, sit it out, kid, don't worry about the future. But the future is now, and I think maybe he sees a difference there, whereas it may have been acceptable for you to take a day or two off before. Now, and I'm not saying you don't take, but you know what I mean. In this instance, you're already down one gun. It would definitely hurt you to come in down both of those. So I expect Kyrie to play. Expect LeBron not to play here tonight. Other than that, Mike Miller still waiting to be cleared from his concussion protocol. Delhi's back out there as we talked about. We'll see him continue to get some more minutes. Meanwhile, on the other side, Drew Holiday had a hell of a game, season game for him the other day. 30 points and 10 dimes. In his last 3 games, he's over 55% shooting. New Orleans out rebounding their opponents by 13 boards a game over the last 2 weeks. Omar Essick has just been out there doing his thing, averaging over 13 a game in his last 6 games. Cavs are going to have to get after the board. Tristan, what we've seen from him the last few games is going to have to continue. Same with Kevin Love as far as hitting the boards there. They're going to have to. I mean, you obviously have Anthony Davis doing his thing. He's a walking, breathing double-double, one of the best players in the NBA defensively too as well. I mean, he'll erase mistakes. We saw that happening a lot yesterday too, is the Cavs with longer, more athletic defenders against them, a lot of shots blocked, a lot of things. Tristan Thompson, I noticed a couple of times last night, and I love Tristan, you guys know that, but something that he can work on is going right back up with the ball, because there were a couple of times that he grabbed a board and then took his time to regather and go back up, and he gave the defender time to block the shot or get him from behind or whatnot, affect the shot however it worked out. He's got to be, that's where you get those fast twitch calf muscles, man, where it's just right back up. Dennis Rodman used to be the king at doing that stuff without needing to regather. He could re-jump like a pogo stick there. Tristan's got to keep working on that, because he gave a couple of times, he gave the defense time to get to him where he reset instead of just going right back with that. But getting shots blocked, there was some issues with that last night with the longer, taller defenders, more athletic guys out there. That's going to continue here tonight when you got a guy like Davis who's a shot eraser there for guys in the hole. Going to be a lot of fun to see what the Cavs do here tonight before they get the rest of the weekend off. Last night was a tough one. It only gets harder on the back end of a back-to-back here, but they do have a chance. This is a winnable game. Both teams are coming here. Cleveland, of course, 8-2 in their last 10, just broke that 8-game winning streak. New Orleans coming in a bit up and down. They're 4-6 in their last 10 games. So it should be a lot of fun. Defensively, the Cavaliers, under 100 points allowed. That's the key number. Offensively, 100 points is the key number for them, too. I mean, they're significantly better when they break the 100-point barrier than when they don't. Meanwhile, they've got that average up to 103 points a game here, but that's the X factor. They're significantly better when they're over 100 points or not. So we'll be talking about that on Monday, getting you ready for the Cavaliers coming back home. Of course, we've spent all day today talking to you guys about the Browns and the Bengals. Got that one going on this weekend, and man, that could go a lot of different ways, man. We'll see. Looking forward to having John McMullen and Dan Wismar in the house here this week. Too, I meant to get into some of this basketball stuff before we go away, before we get off the show here, you guys. I'm not rushing off just yet. A couple of things I wanted to touch on. Talking about Kyrie getting hurt, man, and holding your breath. And, I saw, well, this just goes into fans that get on guys that they don't like, man. I saw some people, a lot of people, hit us up on our social media complaining in the last couple of days about Brian Hoyer's comments the other day. I swear to God, he didn't say anything that any other backup person in any sport says, and he got blasted for it, as far as you never know what can happen. And he even went so far as to reference, Cam Newton gets into a car accident and just like that. And people were, well, J-Rock, this is your guy, huh? Well, look at him. He's throw his player under the bus and wish him harm. I said, man, listen. I said, that stuff happens all the time. That's the reason that you have backups at every position. He's absolutely right. He didn't say anything wrong by saying, I've got to be ready to play. Like he's not supporting Manziel because he's saying, I got to be ready to do my job too. But Kyrie, you saw that. Hair's breadth away from losing him for the season. How about Kentucky? Alex Poitras gone for the season in practice yesterday. Tore his ACL. He's going to be out. That's the top-ranked squad. Now, of course, they're deep enough to more than likely, I don't know that you totally bounce back from losing a guy that good, but they're plenty deep enough that should be all right. But, yeah, that's a top guy. That's a guy with a big future coming forward, and he's down. Just goes to show you that just like that, the things can change. And I told you guys, a ton of people have hit me up over the last couple of days about the possibility of that for the Browns. But it just does go to show you, in general, how quickly things can change, how quickly injuries can come in. But I'm like, really? Like, what did Brian Hoyer say wrong by saying, look at what happened to Cam Newton. You literally have to be ready at a moment's notice to play. He's exactly right. And I had guys trying to tell me that proved that he was a bad teammate, only out for himself. I'm like, last I checked, every single week, John Manziel said the same thing. You never know what could happen, and I may have to play at a moment's notice. Nobody said anything. I'm just saying, guys. But, hey, listen, when you like somebody, you like them. And once that worm turns, I get it. And I know how colored things are. But, yeah, man, really. And talking about the injuries, you're always just an injury away from things changing. Nothing shows that more than Kentucky losing one of their guys. Cavaliers nearly losing one of theirs. Speaking of hoops, LeBron may not have played hoops, but his name was in the headlines. Did you guys hear about the guy who stole the truck full of, I almost said Jordans, who stole the truck full of LeBron 12s? Got him. This is actually a story from earlier last month. This guy was able to get in. He worked for like a cargo company or whatever. And he was able to use his entrance to the lots to get in, and he found a truck full of Jordan, or I almost said Jordans again, shoes, LeBrons, the LeBron 12s. He found them before they hit the market, like where they were, pre-released and that. But anyways, 7,500 pairs of these shoes, retail value over $1.5 million. And my man was selling them out of the house, and they ended up raiding him and catching him. He had sold over 700 pairs before the police were able to catch him. But what I found funny is in the police report, they put the actual value of the merchandise, not the resale value, not what the sticker price is. They declared the value $623,280 for the shoes, $83.10 a pair, which basically exposed the actual cost of what the store pays for those shoes. So just so you know, I'm just going to put that out there. The Foot Locker or whatever it is that you shop at your shoes, Champs, I don't even know if Champ Sports even exists, but they pay $83 for that pair of shoes, and then you pay $200 or $225 or $250 or whatever it may be for those shoes. So just keep in mind. And they pay $83 to Nike, who paid about $8.31 to get those made. So everybody's making some money off of those, except the cat at the back end of it that pays for it. But anyways, so this guy's facing some time in the pokey. He's out on bond right here. But he had a plan. He thought he was going to make some money. He stole himself $1.5 million worth of LeBrons, and he was playing Santa Claus there for a minute. Anyways, speaking of playing Santa Claus, the Dallas Cowboys. This is where I'm going to end this show today. The Dallas Cowboys were playing Santa Claus this week. They went to some hospitals, some children's hospitals. If you guys haven't heard this one, it's a plot right out of an episode of the Dave Chappelle Show. Do you guys remember the Chappelle Show? If you do you remember the skit where Dave Chappelle played the kid who was dying of cancer in the hospital, and he just kept whipping him at a game of video games, and every time the kid would get depressed that he was losing, pick up them sticks, son, come on, take this whooping like a man. And it was a very funny skit about a guy taking advantage of a dying child in his last days in video games. It's pretty funny. And anyways, how about a real life version of that? Apparently the Cowboys went to their annual children's hospital visit this week for the holiday season, and Orlando Scandrick, the cornerback for the Cowboys, was playing some of the different patients in Madden. He was playing some Madden 15, and he ended up going to town on one of these kids. Some of his teammates were even tweeting about how ruthless Orlando Scandrick was being with this poor cancer patient. And it's funny, but it is, especially if you've seen the skit where this played out in television world and then it played out in real life. But Justin Durant tweeted out, Orlando Scandrick just played a kid in Madden at the Children's Hospital and hit him with a surprise onside kick. Then he was winning and went for two. And they continued to tell about how he's known for being one of the most intense competitors on the Cowboys, but apparently he extended that to his 9-year-old opponent at the Children's Hospital. Scandrick said, well, at least I didn't talk trash to the kid. I wasn't teaching him a lesson, but when you play a competitive game, you've got to expect for it to be competitive. if they didn't want you to go for two, and if they didn't want you to kick onside kicks, you wouldn't have that option on the game. And he continued to say, I had to practice. You never know when you might be playing an intense Madden game and you might need to steal a possession. You might need to go for two. So I had to see if I could do my 2-point plays, and I used it as practice. I could just see him just taking advantage of a kid, running up the score, going for two, kicking onside when you're up by a bunch. But the whole thing that makes it funny, and if you have